Welcome to Trade Talks. I'm Frank DeVito here with Danielle Almansa to discuss Eastern Long Island's blue-collar world. This talk show is to benefit Hampton's Trade Education Fund.org, helps Southampton College of the Trades. All profits go to Hampton's Trade Education Fund.org. Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you're enjoying your drive and grind today. Danielle, good morning. Thank you for coming in.
That grind, that trade parade, huh?
Oh, yeah. That was last week's discussion with Rob Colburn. It was all about the trade parade.
It's the norm.
It is the new norm. And eventually they're going to get the trains going. I heard that they're doing some Babylon test runs and stuff. So
It'll be
we'll see
amazing
what
for my
happens.
business. I know other people will be happy about it too.
I know it. So, speaking of your business, let's get a little about your background, Danielle.
So-
Other than being on the board of Hampton's Trade Education Fund.
You got it. So my background is in education. I started my career as a nanny, actually. We started a babysitting agency. So that was where I first became an entrepreneur. And then with my sister, not alone. I don't do it alone. We're a good team together. She does all the money and I'm all the education. And then the Child Care Center of the Hamptons in Southampton came 8 years ago, actually tomorrow. We'll have our anniversary of 8 years tomorrow.
Good for you.
Yeah. So we service children from 6 weeks to 5 years old. We have full-time childcare from 7 o'clock in the morning till 5:30 at night, Monday through Friday. And it has been a labor of love, and it is something that the community needs, right? So the workforce who's out there every day, what do they do with their kids?
Yeah.
They got to do something. And if you can't afford a nanny, and you can't have private in-home care, then you look for center care. And so we have been doing that now for 8 years, and it's been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot, to say the least. When I first walked in that door, I thought I knew it all when we first started, and it's definitely not true. I've learned a lot more to this point, and understanding education, what the community needs, and how to evolve and get better.
How do people contact you?
Our business is really a lot of word of mouth. It's a lot of I know your kid goes there. Oh, okay. Let me go take a tour and go find out. It ends up being that way. When we first started, it was everyone that my sister and I knew, like through contacts, through childhood,
Yeah.
all of that. That's how we started with 6 kids in 2016. We had 6 kids. One of them was mine. And then it grew from there. And honestly, it takes trust. It's a lot of trust. We are literally taking care of your pride and joy all day long. We spend more time with these people's children than they do.
You help putting values in, you help raise those kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's definitely it's a valuable, and it is trust, it is. But look, you're doing a great job.
Thank
8
you.
years. You got to be doing a good job.
Yeah.
Got a website?
We do. So it's cchamptons.com. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. You can kind of find us all over social media.
And you're right on North Sea Road.
Right on
across
North Sea
from,
The cemetery, we're right across from the cemetery, down the road from 7-Eleven. So
Yeah.
we're right,
It's almost a walk from 7-Eleven.
yeah, you can walk from 7-Eleven easily. So we're
That's
right there.
fantastic.
So really, we're the beginning of education. We are what you are. We're your foundation, if you really think about it. So with the trade school wanting to operate, let's talk about the beginning. I'm talking about, we deal with infants, right? Infants, toddlers, and preschoolers. What's our main focus? We allow them to play. We allow them to have this imagination, have really autonomy over themselves and who they want to be without controlling them, right? Yes, we have to tell them to, all right, we got to clean up and we got to do these things, but we're giving them skills, life skills that they need and they will carry for the rest of their lives. And so, trade school.
It's a fact that the younger the kid is, the more of a sponge they are, the more they pick up, the more that they retain, so you're there, you're seeing from infants, you're seeing kids, right after they took their first steps, or maybe even getting their first steps in with you. You have a good opportunity for, you know, the blue collar people to teach those kids, like, if you let them find that creative side. You know, if you were able to set up programs in there with kids that young, and we're not setting them up with table saws and routers, but if you're setting them up with simpler, you know, erector sets and stuff like that, and get them into that, you know, working with their hands, you know, Europe is so far ahead of us with that, and this is a good opportunity. And you were saying, when we first met, one of your big things that came in was alternative education.
Yeah.
You're like, we need other alternative, because as soon as public school is great, it's good, kids are all socially acting with each other, you get them out there, they're learning the fundamentals, but as soon as there's a budget cut, first things that cut are the athletic programs,
Oh, yeah.
the vocational shop classes.
All the
They're taking
important
that
stuff
away.
gets cut.
All the important stuff.
All the important stuff. Everything else, and listen, no, you know, hate on public school. I was a public school kid. I did it. But we could do better, really. Because, you know, kind of like I was mentioning before, like you said, walking. Are we rushing a kid to walk? Get up. You gotta walk. All right. No, we allow them to give them that time to develop, right? Those small baby steps. We lose that once they start getting older. We start saying, you have to learn the same way, you have to do it at the same time, hurry up, let's do it, get it done. And somebody may have no interest in it. Why are we not leaning into a little bit more of what you're good at? And really, if we pay attention, if you really hone in, if you go back to Frank as a child, what did Frank as a child love to do? What did I love to do? I loved being in front of people. I loved talking to other people. I loved interacting and playing. I never knew I'd be a teacher. I didn't think about it then, but I can guarantee you that somebody along the way probably said, I could see this kid maybe becoming a teacher. She loves children. She loves this, right? And saw it in me and maybe could have helped foster that, because in our center at CCH, you're talking about all that hands-on, that's all we do. We want them to play. They're picking up mallets. They're banging on ice, and they're using ice picks and different things, right? We're there, we're monitoring them, making sure they're safe, but we're giving them tools, real life tools. And no offense, but all the other stuff in between your growing up is kind of a little bit of fluff before you really hone in on what you're really good at. And you've built those skills really early on. And sometimes we forget to pay attention to that, I think.
Well, we take them for granted.
We
or
do.
We're too busy watching what they're doing, you know? So everybody, all the parents now became so busy, so they're keeping their kids so close, but they're not really paying attention to what they're doing. Not knocking parents, every kid's got to be brought up a different way. Like
We do what we have to do, right?
When I was a kid, I look back at my childhood, I'm like, man, everything I was doing fun got me slapped upside the head. But, you know, it created the person I was. I'm still, I appreciate every shot I took upside the head, because it was a life lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great, for where we're going and what I see now, because the schools, when I went to school, which is way before you, guidance counselors actually told you, you know, worked with you to say, you should get into this, you should get into that, think about working with your hands, you're very creative,
No.
you should go to college, you should go to college for this. It became when my older two kids were in, everything from the guidance counselors were, oh my God, they're great, they gotta go to college, you gotta push them. And that was the big push. I thought it was the schools doing that because the colleges were obviously pushing, but you got a lot of parents were going in and just looking like, wait, you mean Johnny should be a garbage man? Johnny's not saying my son's stupid, he can't go to college? So they kind of got forced into that. And when we were meeting with Scott from Longwood, he basically said the same thing. Now they're all trying to build their shops back that the budgets were cut out of. They're trying to do that because they realize. And from what I saw at the first Trade Expo, the kids in school now want to work, they want to do things. They see their either older siblings or, you know, I don't want to say their parents, but they see other people that are struggling, like going nowhere, college debt.
I also think that they realize money, that they know that they have to have money in order to do things. And so I think that they're not as dumb, I hate to even say that, or as naive as we say they are. I think, especially in this world, with everything that we've seen in terms of social media, they realize that they can make money by doing things.
Yeah.
But you got to put in the work, and you got to do it. And so if you choose to go to college, great, good for you. But if you don't want to go, there needs to be that alternative. You need to kind of have the way. And I think if you are in school, like you're saying, is your guidance counselor really pushing you or guiding you, not pushing you, in the right direction, and really fostering what you want, not what your parents want for you, and what you want for yourself? Because ultimately, you're going to do the best job if you're sitting in the position that you love the most. You will. And that's inevitable. If somebody told you, all right, Frank, you're going to be a hairdresser, and you're going to be like, oh my God, this is not what I'm good at, but I guess I'll try. You're not going to want to wake up every day and go do it.
No.
Right? And so I think we really have to lean into that much more.
I'm going in my 45th year of business. And just till recently, I felt I haven't worked a day in my life. I used to have so much fun. You know, now, with the unskilled labor that we can't communicate with, and we're getting frustrated trying to train the things that they're not capable of doing because it's too new for them.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're working. Right now I'm like, man, I should have been something else. But, you know, any skill I learned, anything I did, I never look back to a regret. And so many of my friends kids are like, oh my God, I can't believe I took this course in college. I can't believe I did this, you know?
Yeah.
That's where the regret comes in. You know, you think that nobody ever, that I can ever imagine, said, what a waste of learning that skill, you know? There's no such thing. I was at a doctor in Southampton yesterday, as soon as he found out, because I still say I'm a carpenter. I don't say I'm a builder, I don't say I'm a general contractor. My roots are carpentry, framing. So I would say framing, but then everybody thinks you make pictures for a living. You know, you're a picture framer, so
Yeah.
I generalize a carpenter. So I go in there, he's like, yeah, I'm a carpenter. So he goes, I built my shelves, I did this. Here's a guy that could afford anything. And even if he couldn't afford to go to a custom shop, he could afford IKEA. But his satisfaction is, on the weekends, pulling a table saw and doing stuff. And Rob Coburn was here last week. His dad was a banker. He goes, Frank, we built so much stuff. My dad's like weekends were working, you know, mowing the lawn, building stuff in the garage. We built all our cabinets. We did all that because that was his golf game. You know, that was his relax. You know?
It's really exactly what you're saying is we need to bring it back to the basics of life. Life skills, the basic of what everyone needs to do. If you can't afford to pay for somebody to do that for you, then you need to learn. You need to educate yourself. And in this day and age, just YouTube it. You'll learn how to do anything on YouTube. Please, I learned how to change a flapper to the toilet. I don't have to call the plumber no more to come in for a silly call. I do it at the daycare, right? I don't need anybody to do things for me. I hang stuff all day long. Sometimes it's a little tilted. Oh, yeah, I guess I should have used the level, right?
But the professionals making that same mistake, believe me.
But I do a pretty darn good job hanging stuff. I know that I got to use a molly in order to hang it, right? I got to make sure I don't hit a stud, and I got to use the stud finder. I got all my old tools at CCH, and so
definitely impressing me, Danielle.
Well, exactly. I don't want to wait. The problem is with me is that I don't want to wait for somebody to have to come. And so if I pay attention and I look at a role model and be like, oh, you just showed me how to do that, which my father is a big role model in my life. Why can't I do it next time? Right? And this is really what I do personally is a lot of what I bring in to CCH. And when we're talking about alternate learning, I do believe that we are coming into a shift. I do. I think that people are going to be all over alternative learning. I really do think that people are going to say, I don't need to go to college. I can go to a trade school. I don't even actually need to finish high school all the way. At 16 years old, I can go to junior college.
Yeah.
I can start to get a job. There's so many possibilities. I think that we need to start to, not that we need to, I think it's already started. I think people have started the conversation just like we're having now. I think that even in my realm of being so young, I think a lot more parents are wanting their children not to be on devices, wanting them to be outside, wanting them to use their hands. They're always looking, they're always asking me. I had a parent, this is really funny. They come to me and they say, well, my friend sends their kid to this center and they come home with arts and crafts and worksheets and other things. And I said, okay, but we don't do that here. We do all the crafts, we do all the fun, but I'm not giving your kid a worksheet to sit down at 2 and 3 years old to work on. What is that showing? What skill is that really giving them, right? Why are we not engaging in creative thinking, imaginary exploration? That's what you have to do as you get older anyway. You got to use your brain, right? You got to be creative. You got to think outside the box. As you get older, and we're talking about trades, and I need to creatively think about how I'm going to design this room and how I'm going to hang something, and I need to process that, right? There's a whole problem solve. You learn how to problem solve real big at 3 years old and at 4 years old.
That's right.
Right? I don't want to share that toy with you. Yeah. Okay. So how are we going to figure that out? How are we going to come to a compromise? Do I have to set a timer? Do I have to wait till you put it down and I'm going to steal it and run away with it? Right? How are we going to talk it out? Are you going to let me borrow it just for a little bit and then you're going to take it back?
Are you going to try to take it from me? I'm going to slap you upside the head.
Exactly. I might hit
Problem
you.
solved.
Yes. Believe me, that happens quite often. It happens quite often. But it really is, that's life.
Yeah.
That's being a human. Right?
So we got to get kids thinking again for themselves, not thinking what they're taught, not thinking what they're told, not thinking what agenda's getting run down their throat by either, the education or their parents or whatever. Kids got to free think.
They have to learn to ask questions.
And they have to, what I feel with my first two, everything I did for them, taught them how to work on cars, taught them how to build things, do things. I never totally taught them how to want. So when I was growing up, I knew what it was to want, and I knew what it was to bust your butt.
Is it because you didn't have? Is that why you didn't have? So you wanted.
I was the oldest of 6, so you didn't go in and be, you got $20, which really back then was like $5. You didn't do that, You came in and said, all right, if I rake a couple of lawns, if I clam, if I do this, I do that, and. Yeah, at 10 years old, everybody's like, oh, it's a different thing. At 10 years old, I was able to go down to Captain Andy's or Keenan's, rent a motorboat, go clamming and crabbing, walk in and sell enough to build whatever I was playing with, bring some home to the family, and stick money in my pocket, right? So I had the boat the next day. And I will never forget going in there because they all knew my grandfather and my uncles and stuff. And I would walk in there, I would bite down there, and I had my cigarette in my mouth at 10. Cigarette in my mouth. You're down there, and you get old fishermen come by and like slap the cigarette like right out of your face, and you're looking at them like, you know how hard it is to get a cigarette at 10 years old? Like,
I had to bum that cigarette and ask for a light.
So, it was funny like that, but you learned how to wheel and deal. You learned how to negotiate. You learned how to make things happen. So I could build a mini bike. I could build a bicycle. I could do stuff.
Yeah. And one of the biggest things you just said though is that it was trial and error.
Oh yeah.
You had to figure it out, right? And so a lot of what we do as adults, why would we not build these skills as a child? You need to fail to win.
That's right.
We need to teach that and show that. Through, when I say teach that, I mean model the behavior. I don't mean like, here, I'm going to open up a book and teach you it, right? I mean, show you physically what that looks like. If I'm trying to hang something and I fail and I don't do a good job, so I just give up and walk away, I'm done?
Yeah.
No, I need to try again. And then you know what? The next time I keep trying, I'm going to win. And so trial, error, fail, succeed. It's just...
Danielle, there's hard to find things to put kids in that we're going to fail other than, athletics, right? So you can't send a kid in to the school and expect them to come back, I failed at this today, because they don't let them fail. I got to say, Greg from Hampton Jiu-Jitsu.
Yep.
So my son's in there, he was in when he was young, wasn't his gig. He went back a little over a year ago. That class is the perfect thing for trial and error, because they're working together as a team, but you make one wrong move, you stick your head in the wrong spot. Next thing you know, you're getting choked out. You're like, can't do that again, and you learn how to think for yourself, get out of that situation.
It's humbling.
It's not just humbling. It is, you constantly process. It's like a chess game all day.
Yep.
If I put my arm there, he's going to grab it and do this. Or if I put my arm there, as soon as he goes to do it, I do this. And that's what you see with them, and that's what you see with these little kids. And that's how you can't put every kid in there, but you see those kids are thinking for themselves, doing for themselves, and that's going to go a long way for them. And
It teaches discipline.
yeah, exactly. Like tennis, jiu-jitsu, there's certain things that are lifelong sports. Soccer, they're either going to make the team or not. Yeah, they'll be able to play it, have fun with it for the rest of their life. But it's not like golf, tennis, and jiu-jitsu or any martial art that you're going to hold with you. There's certain things that you got to bring in. Kids. I tried. I don't know if I ever told you this. I tried when I had a horse farm. Tried to get high school rodeo. I thought it was the greatest thing, and because to get on a baseball team, you got to drive a 90. You got to be 6'2", 90-mile-an-hour fastball. Basketball, you have to have certain skills. Football, you got to be able to go. So, high school rodeo, anybody can get good. Anybody can get a free ride. It was the perfect thing. The problem that you have, as soon as you introduce farm animals and kids, you get Peter and you get all these like psychotic lunatics coming after you. And it became like the biggest letdown of my life, And, well, plus out here, Western horses like are not a big thing.
No.
Everybody's English.
I rode Western for a little while.
Yeah, Western's where the fun is.
Did some barrel racing back in the day. Some cow
Oh
penning.
my God, that is barrel racing.
It's all about experiences, right? You have to get, and that's at CCH. That's one of the biggest things. I only have you for a short time. I maybe have you 1 or 2 years, maybe 3, maybe 4 if I'm really, really lucky. But kids need experiences. They need opportunities. Greg came in. He was teaching jiu-jitsu at CCH. He'll be back hopefully again this summer, teaching jiu-jitsu to our 3 and our 4-year-olds. Now, what skills is he teaching them, right? They're learning how to crawl, right? And move their body and roll and tumble. But jiu-jitsu is also bringing in that whole element of fitness and health.
Yeah.
We were just talking about it earlier. You got one body
That's
for
right.
the rest of your life, right? And so you have to learn instill these really good habits and these good experiences, and you'll take them with you forever. I firmly believe it. I was given lots of, my parents, listen, they didn't have a bajillion dollars. My dad was a hardworking man, so was my mom, right by his side, right? They ran businesses together. But they were able to give me experiences that stayed with me and gave me confidence to know, let's try it. You might fail. It might be terrible.
Failure. There's a lot of fun in failure.
There is actually.
There's a lot of fun in failure.
There is. Yeah.
So, and every failure is your best lesson, because if you're just nailing it every time,
It's no fun.
you got to be standing in the same spot. You got to be taking the same exact shot. You got to do that. You got to move around. You got to try different things, and that's how you get better.
And
It's like
so boring. If you were good all the time, what a narcissist. It just, that's crazy. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
That's not the real world we live in.
you live too soft a life. If you're good at everything, your life was way too soft.
We should just go sit on a beach somewhere and do nothing. I don't know if you're really that good. Why are we?
Yeah.
Even the richest people in the world, the people who are most successful, who young children idolize to this day, you think that they just fully succeeded in order to get there? They didn't, and I think that they know that. So I really do think that we're going to have a generational shift, and I definitely think the younger generation that's with me will experience that as they get older, for sure. I do think, because here it is, we're talking about it, trade schools, alternative learning. They're going to be into it by the time they get older, for sure.
Think about all the generational shifts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you had the early country, then you had, the history tells us about the Depression families.
Yep.
Then you had the Depression babies,
Yep.
right? So my dad was a Depression baby. He came, he was born in 34. His whole thing was he got a great job at Brookhaven Lab. Never left, never moved, stayed there because, and he did well. Don't get me wrong, he did well. But his thing was you pay off your house, you know, you do whatever for your family, and then that's it. I luckily came at the generation after the hippies, but you had the greatest generation, then you had the effing hippies that just...
They lived a great life, though. Come on.
The hippies lived a great life. Man, they just like brought this country to its knees. They're still... But anyway, you had the hippies went against the greatest generation. So you had the ones that fought in World War II and, you know, did everything to make the country great. Then you had the people say everything they did was wrong, right? Then you had my generation who wanted, needed, and worked hard, right, to get. Then the generation after that was like, hey, we should kind of, like, we want free healthcare, we want this, we want that. So you got that going on. Now I think the big reset is the kids that are in middle school and high school now are like, we're doing something with our lives.
Yeah.
We're not, you know, gonna be that. And I think they're calling them the Alpha generation.
Yes, they are.
So it went from Gen Z to Alpha.
Okay. Which I like. I mean,
Oh my
that's
God!
real strong.
At least it's the Alpha
Real
generation.
strong.
And I think it's going to be a good reset because I think they're going to come back and work hard. They have so much going for them because they're not afraid. My 12-year-old, we were working on the GTO, and I opened it up, and I was, you know, wanted to check the timing on it. I'm explaining to him how to do it. He goes, so first off, we got to figure out the firing order. And writer number one is. And he goes, that's the beauty about today, Dad. So he Googles the firing
Yeah,
order.
of course.
Boom, he goes, everything's right here. And I'm like, man, we used to have to pull out a Chilton book, and every time you got a vehicle, you got a Chilton book. And it was so good because he was so into it. He loved it so much, and he fell in love with cars. And you know, this is what you have. This is what we need to instill in kids, that kids just don't look at things and like, I don't want to do that, I can't do that. They're like, hey, let me tackle it.
Yeah.
If I got to get up, dust off, I'll get it the second time.
Yeah. And find what you love and lean into it. If he enjoyed that, then that's something, whether that's a full-time thing for him or a hobby, then at least he knows and he's starting to acquire those skills. He's realizing, wow, this is powerful to me. I enjoy this time, right? Even if he had to Google it, so what?
Yeah,
He's
it's
still
not the bad. I Google stuff
listen,
every day.
That's what we have technology for at this point, right? And we can utilize it to our benefit in so many ways. And so I think, I mean, your son can just lean right into it and be successful with whatever he chooses to be. I think that's really what the overall piece is that people have to find the power within themselves is what they're good at, instead of worrying about everybody else and every other thing. Find what works.
Yeah.
Find what you like to do, right? I love education. I love it. I mean, I can't get enough of how we can make lives of little ones better, right? And that's why I'm so excited, because in my mind I'm thinking, oh, my 7-year-old son, trade school, here you come, right? He's 7. We got a long ways away till then. But I think about it that way because I want him to be successful in whatever he chooses to do, and I'll support him. I went down the path of what you follow, right? I went to school. I went to undergrad. Then I got a master's. I want to get my PhD. I don't have to do that, but I like it because it drives me, right? But if you don't want to do that, that's fine. You do what drives you, and find the skill set and find the mentors and the people that you need to surround yourself with. I think we have to give a lot of that power back to the kids and empower them to realize that they can do a lot.
And so that's the whole thing about the Southampton College of the Trades and the Hampton Trades Education, is the opportunities that popped up, but we're taking, you know, we're like, you're the threshold for children to go into school.
Yep.
So instead of a parent who had their kid locked to their leg till preschool started, they adapted to and they learned to deal with getting dropped off and spending a whole day in school.
Yeah.
Now they go to school just another, he just went to a different place. Different kids, new adventures, new things. So you are basically bringing them to the threshold. So what we're looking to do with the college is getting kids out of school, and instead of them putting them into a job market that they've never did anything with before, they don't know half the stuff, and then you got small businesses burdened on teaching them, you know, that's a hammer for framing, that's a trimmer's hammer, this is the, like sending them up to the truck 5 times to get the right wrench. They're going to get the basics with us, and we will be the threshold to get them into the workforce, and we'll follow them. So as we had the last board meeting, you were like, what do you need brick and mortar for? You could do this on the field. We've seen it fail on the field, but what won't work in brick and mortar, and what just came about, and United Way seems to be helping us out fantastic with, is we're going to start a framing. So framing, roofing, siding, probably foundations when we get set up, but we're setting up a non-for-profit right now, and we'll put 3 skilled framers with 5 to 7 unskilled. Doesn't have to be dropouts, doesn't have to be graduates. They could have graduated 2 years ago. It could be somebody that got the job, he's in his mid-20s, late 20s, 30, wants to get into this. We're going to work with them. So United Way set us up, there's, through the government, there's Section 3, which is, you know, builders and companies get money for teaching youth, right? So if we bring them in, we should be able to set up almost an outdoor framing thing. And I think this is what we discussed. If I took a big warehouse and I had kids framing every day in a warehouse, framing you have to do every day. And you got to do all parts of it. But they're framing every day. And 6 months, they're great. Oh my God, you guys are great. And we send them out in the elements. And I'm like, yo, it's cold, it's hot, it's rain. Like, any reason to snivel, cry, and quit. We failed. So you got to get them in. And if the weather, anything, like, you got to teach them, hey, you acclimate to it. It's good. Like, I'm outside most of my life.
You got to be prepared.
You got to be prepared. You got to dress appropriate, and you got to deal with it. And it is one of the most rewarding things, because I would just ask kids, anybody that signed up to it, stay till the frame's done. Because as a framer, you roll onto a job. It is a hole in the ground and a pile of wood. When you leave, everybody is so excited because you just put the structure up. You just built the house. People are walking through, the clients, the builders, the architects. It's the most exciting part of the job.
Definitely.
Right? So you get that. They will get, you know, the whole fun of framing, the whole thing that had, you know, we used to, back in the 80s, 90s, 150 guys worked for us. We were training them, and it was such a tight-knit thing. The competition, the camaraderie, the trash talking, like all the fun. And just the thick skin, because there was nothing worse. You know, you're going around, you know, you're going at it with somebody. At the end of the day, you're looking, saying, look what we did today, you know? Like, look at the accomplishment. So that's a big thing. I'm meeting next week with the United Way, and they actually offered us, because, believe it or not, I can't find a grant writer. I mean, anybody out there, know any grant writers, please send them our way. I can't get a return call from a grant writer. So I'm talking to Rick over there, and he goes, Frank, what a great idea. Because they're doing builder science, which I'll get in with you. And they like us because we're the skills. They don't want to get involved with the skills, you know. So he's like, come in. I like your idea. I'll sit you down. Because they do their own grant writing. They're United Way. You know, they got everybody. So they're like, we'll help you out. We'll do this, do that. And I'm like, man, this is, I think I found my sugar daddy. You know? Like, they're so willing to help because they see the need for a workforce, you know? And
Well, that's been the biggest complaint. Everyone says, I can't find staff, I can't get staff. And even if you find staff, like you said, they're not skilled, so then they have to be trained. Training a staff member, no matter what industry you're in, it takes time. I would say, I personally, in my industry, 6 months. 6 months. And by the time that you're really solid, 6 months, and then by the time you hit a year, you're flowing, like, and you get it. And I do believe, as much as, yeah, you could train someone in 3 months, but there's a lot to do. There's a lot to educate on. There's a lot to show. And what you were saying before, in terms of, so they don't have to go back to the truck 5 times, it's muscle memory. You're building, you're teaching them, okay, this is what I have to do. This is how I do the process, right? These are the steps. This is how I have to get there. And you're talking about being outside. It's something that doesn't matter what the weather is. CCH kids are outside. Rain, sunshine, snow, all of it. And what did we just say? Being prepared for it. It's not bad weather. It's bad attire. Make sure you got your where's your Carhartt gear. Throw on your coveralls, right, and get outside.
With some layers.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
We get out of the truck in the morning. You're shivering. You're freezing. You lay it up. 2 hours in, you start
sweating. You're taking things off.
Lay it down, and then lunchtime you're like, all right, before I sit down to have lunch, you got to put it back on, otherwise you're watching the icicles,
For sure.
But you're absolutely right. You can think you train somebody in 3 months because they got the basics. They don't know problem solving because they have not seen enough problems in 3 months. 6 months is border, but anybody that stays into the construction industry 6 months, their life is. They're in there, If they make it that long, they're in there. And within a year, they hit most of the problems that they're going to have. Mm-hmm. What makes a good carpenter, what makes a good framer, what makes a real true mechanic is not the guy that can build the plans and get it done. The guy that, when the plans don't meet, he doesn't make the same mistake that was handed to him. And he doesn't need to throw the architect, everybody under the bus to make himself look good. He sees it as it's going up. He fixes it. That's a master. Yeah. That's what you want to become. And that's what we could teach you.
To build somebody to be a leader, a team player, more, right?
To build leaders.
We need to build leaders, team players who can be leaders, right? And listen, we all have our strengths all the time. So let's work to each other's strengths, and especially with what you're talking about. All right, if you're not so good at this, then Johnny is. So tell Johnny, come on over here, show me how to do this again. And you still may not be as good. So maybe Johnny's your go-to man who's going to do it. Yeah. And you're going to be really good at whatever. And you're going to do it, right? And lead in what you're good at.
The world and a crew could never have too many leaders, right? Because everybody's leads a different way. Everybody's got a different thing, and it all works. Same thing with alphas. We can't have too many alphas.
Yep.
We got to stop the toxic masculinity. Masculinity is not toxic. It's not.
Not at all.
Not at all. You need that to get through. Like, to me, women are the goddesses of the earth, right?
Thank you.
And men are the workforce of the earth. Yeah, we are the most leaders in there with the most stuff because that's what we're set for. Women are set for nurturing, taking care of. There are more women can problem solve than men. You could put 500 men in a room and 10 women in the room. The 10 women will have the answers before the 500 men because that's what it is. That's how it is, And we just gotta realize that's life.
Yep.
You're not gonna change everybody's DNA. You're not gonna do this. You just gotta get out there, find what makes you happy, and work your butt off at it. Because then you're gonna have a life where you're coming home ecstatic, excited,
Yeah.
Not work a day.
Yeah, and ask questions.
Ask
lots of questions. Listen, after a while, there are people say, people always like to say there's no stupid questions. Sometimes there are stupid questions, right? Especially if you've had to answer that same question too many times and you haven't gotten the hint. My sister would attest to that. She's like, another question? That is however, you do need to ask questions to grow, right? You need to get out there. You need to work hard. Why did I fail today? I'm coming home. Am I living paycheck to paycheck? Do I want to live paycheck to paycheck? How do I better myself? What do I want? What do you want, right? Like you said before, I wanted this. And what drives you to push further? Maybe some people are content living paycheck to paycheck. That's fine. That's good for you.
There's many people like
right?
that, and that's great because they become good workers.
Mm-hmm.
But when you treat them and train them to just a little extra effort or just a little better thought, that paycheck to paycheck, they can't spend. Their spending falls behind their earnings, and that's what you see out there is you got to get this. I mean, I am putting a lot in the next generation. They say, and this has got to go across the board for every industry, but construction alone, $2.1 trillion industry. It's truly the largest industry in the country or the world, but medical they put first because they got all this. But medical is all tax-free. Construction, they tax the hell out of it. But I bring this up because something just came out. For every 100 people that are getting out of the field, only 14 people are signing in. In 2022, there was a 500 person deficit in just construction on the union end of it, not even on the home builder, all that. 500,000. So there's jobs every day. You can guarantee 98% of the people that get involved with this program, they're going to leave work, right? And they're going to hold on to the job. If they don't, they're going to come back and help them find, what team fits. Because, I hate to say it, we take kids, say we go through 20 kids, and we find them jobs. Everybody runs their career different. Everybody's got a different mentality.
For sure.
There's guys that believe you lead by whipping them.
Yep.
There's guys that, accept certain things. So you're not able to match up the ones and ones. So they might go last 3 days a week, 5 weeks, come back, move them around, But we're going to communicate with them.
And that's all right. Not everybody's a good boss, right?
Dude.
So
there's a lot of lousy bosses out there.
So that in that sense, we can build them, give them these skills, and they have to do their due diligence and find what team makes the most sense for them, right? As much as they can be guided, like you said, they go to, so and so's operation, and they're like, all he does is yell at me all day. He's just screaming at the top of his lungs. He may go to the next B operation. We don't even do anything. We stand around, we're drinking coffee all day. I want to work. I want to get my hands dirty. And then finally they show up at the C operation and it's a fit. And it maybe it works better for them, right? And it's the same thing for me too. I do all the time, right? CCH may not be, I have clients. Maybe you're not for me. Maybe my center is not where you need to come. Maybe the employees, maybe I'm not the right boss for you,
Maybe
right?
I don't want your kid.
Right. Listen, there are times that has happened to us where parents and our philosophies don't mesh, and actually they have either exited politely or we have asked them to exit politely because they're just not on the same page of what our beliefs are, and that's all right. However, at the end of the day, we all have to be respectful, right? You have to be respectful.
Exactly.
And you run your operation how you choose. But that'll be on the person, the individual person, to figure out whether or not they want. But that comes down to building it young, giving that self-confidence, right? Having children understand the social emotional aspect of life, right? You can't just go cry and run to mom and dad all the time. Your feelings are valid. You can cry, you can get upset, you can be mad and angry and feel all of it. You're gonna need these skills as you get older. Communication, right? You're gonna have to be able to talk. Yeah, I might have to tell your boss, listen, I don't, it's not working for me. I gotta go, right? And you continue to learn your skills, hone in on them, and carry them with you wherever you want to go.
I lucked out because we went to school split session. So I was able to get out of school 11:30, 12 o'clock.
That's amazing.
Hitchhike out.
Oh.
work almost a full-time job. So my biggest thing was it's a hilarious story how I got hired and what it was, but the framers I was working for, these guys whipped me. I had a nickname. Every time I screwed something up, I had a new nickname, right? So first off, I already had thick skin, and I went along and we had a great time, but they taught me so much because they saw the value of what I was doing. But the coolest thing they taught me is when I left them, when I got out of school full time and I went on, because they were French Canadians, they weren't here as much. So I went in full time and I started getting hired by guys that thought they were framers. And here I am, 18 years old, going, man, you suck. That's not how you do that. So you realize they trained me better than the people I was working for, which got me in good jobs, good money at a young age. But the cool thing was, all my friends were getting out of school not knowing where to go. Because back then it was get a job, go to college, or join the service.
Yep.
It was easy to Shanghai. It was almost like the pirates. You go to the bar, Shanghai a couple of guys, next day you're whooping them on the job site, And we had a lot of people. We had a lot of fun. You remember the roof fall off. You remember the ridges you put up. You remember so much of it because everything was rewarding, And that is exactly what I think we could bring to these kids. And, the workforce has changed. The workforce that we're dealing with now is what's stopping it, what's really halting it is communication.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They say, there's no such thing as stupid, but yet there is. Then believe me, there's a lot of stupid. But they're stupid different ways. I'm not saying that they're stupid. I'm saying that there's no communication, there's no skills that they have, there's no common sense, there's different things that's stopping them from being, but yet the more tools they buy, the better they think they are, and it takes, one of the biggest things we discovered with traffic, when I'm talking with Rob last week, was what we used to frame in a day to 5 days is taking now 3 to 4 weeks to 12 to 14 weeks. Larger crews.
It's a big loss financially.
So you think it's a big loss, but nobody's there to lose money. So at the end of the day, houses cost more. And originally everybody was like, oh, well, you frame different now. You get all this strapping, you get all this. You're not even adding a day on if you do it right. Everything. Long Island used to have the best framers in the country. And that died in the early odds. That, really fell apart because as you get less people to train, you got people training other people that suck.
Yeah.
So if I suck at something and I'm training you, guess what?
I suck too.
You're gonna suck. We're creating a whole lot of suck. So now you just deal with, all right, it takes 14 weeks to frame a house. It costs, $180,000, $240,000 to frame a house that used to cost maybe $45,000, Prices are up. And the same thing, the trimmers. We used to go in, one guy set up, and he'd cut for 5 guys, 6 guys, whatever it was. And, when you're doing houses, there's only a few size windows. Not every window is a different size. Not every door is a different size. So you get your basic sizes, you get your count, you put together your list. It takes thoughts, it takes brains. It takes preparing the night before. So when you were framing, at night, you were putting together all your lists, all your stuff together. So your guy got on the bench. Trim the same thing. Now you go to a job site and you walk on and you're in a house, there's like anywhere from 6 to 14 guys set up to do a window and then finish that window and set up to do the next window. it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know,
There's too many cooks in the kitchen.
It's
Too many mistakes can be made with that many people, it seems like.
not running like it used to. And exactly, so you got one window, one guy's better than the next guy, and you know, so there's a lot of things we gotta look at to fix to get this done. But once you start training people at a younger age,
Yeah, much
and they
younger.
adapt to this, they're gonna go, you know?
Definitely. I definitely think by the time, I mean, with what we do at CCH, I think we're setting them up, you know, for some pretty good success in that sense and setting them off into the real world. But then it continues. It has to continue off into middle school, giving them those opportunities, right? You want to be an artist. You want to be in the woodworking. You want to be in mechanics. You want to be a beautician. Whatever you want to be. You got to start honing in and training those skills young and then continuing it through the ages.
So you have 8 classrooms there, right?
I do.
And if you tomorrow could set up what your dream is of educating at a young age, what would you do to that school?
Oh my gosh, what would I do? If I close my eyes and visualize it, there's lots of really great people in the industry and philosophies that I love, right? And so in my ideal world, I mean, I love CCH. It's great, but it could always be better. Montessori is one of the philosophies that I really love, and Montessori is really encompassing the whole child, allowing them the exploration, setting them up with a station maybe that they want to go to, and I envision like this clean, pristine. CCH is pretty clean. I don't even know what to talk about, but the clean, pristine environment that is open and inviting. People who love what they do every day, and my teachers do love what they do, but really bringing in that. I actually have a lot of parents who work for us now, a lot of clients who are the parents, and they're in helping. Why? Because they love kids. Who doesn't want to? And so we're constantly growing and getting better. Like my infant room, for example, making sure that the kids have what they need, the space that they have, getting them outside. And so it's a hard question because I think I'm forever evolving. I guess there is a vision, but I don't know if there's a perfect. I think that I want, for me, we always want the opportunity for children at CCH, and so we're trying to always think what makes the most sense for that child, right? Staying in a classroom, one classroom all day long is not ideal for them, right? So what did we do? We built a multi-purpose room. They can come into this multi-purpose room and they can climb, they can go on a roller coaster, they can go through a tunnel, they can swing. They have all these opportunities. So I think for me, it's forever just evolving and changing those and making it better, or changing the equipment that I have.
What age would you start at? What age would you stop at?
Well, so, oh gosh.
Danielle School of Leaders.
Right? I don't know. What age would I stop at? I don't know. I think I could see myself birth through high school.
Wow.
I think I could. I do. I think that could be and is a possibility. There's many schools that operate like that already. If your child's not going to public school and they're going to a Reggio school, a Montessori school, any type of other alternate learning, right? They're kind of doing that already. They don't do as young though. They're starting at 5, right? But if we could continue, they call it in my industry, it's called the continuity of care. So continuity of care means if you could have me as your teacher, as an infant teacher, and I grow with you over the years, right? Eventually I let you meet other teachers, you go off, but I really know you. I've learned Frank. I know how long it took you to walk. I know that you fed yourself. I know that you don't like when somebody's in your face. Why? Because you're going to turn around and push them away, right? So I got to know you, and I'm honing in on what your abilities are, and then eventually I will share that with whoever your next teacher and leader is, right? So that they could be successful in giving you what you need. And so, yeah, I mean, it could be birth through 12th grade. I hate to say it that way, but or up until the age that you can go and work, right? You can work at what, 14 now? 14, 15, yeah. 16. So, I don't know. That's the dream, I guess. Right?
That is something that could make a big difference to a child's life. What you got to do is figure a way to expand that, because if you're just doing that with 15, 20 kids, you're not making a big difference. You're creating 15, 20 leaders, you're creating 15 people that can cope, but you're not changing, you know.
Yeah.
You're creating people that are going to fight against the masses. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
That is so. That was always what we were looking at. That's the idea of the college, the trade college, is to try to get 2,000 kids, 1,500 kids a semester. If we're getting 2,000 to 3,000 kids a year, or people, I don't want to say kids, people a year, I would love the option for junior college. I would love be able to get kids from 14 to 16, like starting that young,
Yeah.
take them out of public school, put them in that, and really, because by the time they're 18, they could be young adult masters at things.
Oh my gosh.
It can make a big difference,
Yeah.
And I see that with me, that's what worked. If I went to school full time and I was only doing it on weekends, I would have missed the opportunity. I'd have been doing something else. So
Yeah.
maybe I eventually would have found it, but I just lucked out on a strange day, run into the right people.
Right people, right time.
Hey, look, getting in a truck at 14 with 3 grown framing men either takes a lot of trust or naive, stupid. Like today, everybody, those guys probably would have got pulled over by the cops and locked up, getting a 14-year-old kid in the back of the
Yeah.
truck.
What are you doing? This is
Yeah,
illegal.
exactly, but yeah, anyway, you turn around, there's some good opportunities, There's,
I think we're on our way.
I think
I
we
do. I think that the conversation doesn't stop here. I think it continues, and it will, because I've spoken to a lot of people, even in the last month, besides our meetings, other people across the world that are just, they want change, and they're willing to put in the time and make the change, and they are starting to create opportunities for alternate learning and make it accessible too, and so that it's not only for a particular financial
Exactly.
need, right?
Look, we're looking to get the framing academy and the roofing and siding. We're looking to get that, like that we could start right away, because we don't need brick and mortar for.
Yeah.
We actually need projects. But when we do the May 13th at Southampton College, May 13th through 20th, we're going to be renting the college at the gymnasium, and we're doing a big trade expo. We're going to have a lot of businesses there. We're going to have a lot of information there. And the schools are promising to bring busloads of kids on field trip. So with that, we're really going to see who wants to get into this. The other thing was, I brought up at our next board meeting, the schools have been inviting us to come there. So they got stuff going on in March. So we are going to try to set up a table for, the Hampton Trade Education. We'll try to set that up, we'll get information, we'll, put our flyers out with got skills, I want skills.
Yeah.
We'll get that program going.
Set up a little friendly competition.
But then I'm gonna do the same, I'm gonna bring in the framing rigs, and we're gonna compete with them and get them going, show the camaraderie, show the fun, show the trash talk, what it is to be a framer. It'll be inside in March in nice warm weather, to see how they react,
Take them outside instead.
Yeah. I mean, look, you feel for them. You remember the days, I remember smashing my fingers in brutal cold weather, to where by the time you got down to the truck and got electrical tape to wrap them up, you had bloodsickles hanging from them, But it's a part of it, this is what you did. And it makes you a better person, Every scar is a lesson, a memory. I mean, I can tell you about every scar all over me.
Yeah.
And I don't talk about, was I stupid that day? I'm like, I did this, how, and that's what it is.
Yeah,
That's life.
memories.
Memories, exactly.
Memories, experiences, right?
Yeah.
Getting your feet on the ground and doing it.
Exactly.
Out there and doing it. And that's what it is that we have to continue to build that alpha generation to do it. Just do it. It's all right if you get dirty. We have extra clothes, we'll change you. It's all right if you get wet because you were having so much fun playing in that water table. We'll change your clothes. Oh, it's raining outside? Let's go jump in puddles. You got rain boots? Let's put them on. If you don't, let's take off those wet sneakers when you get inside and change you, right? Like, there's, you
That's
just
exactly
adapt each time. It doesn't matter
exactly
how
what it
old
is.
you're, this big or this big. You adapt to your surroundings.
We were pouring concrete on Gin Lane in a pouring rain, in water, in groundwater. And I had 4 pairs of socks and 3 sets of boots in my truck. And I'm telling you, by the end of the day, I would have paid anything for a dry pair of socks, but we got the job done. It was such a good accomplishment to get that thing done. And, you know, there sits a house worth $75 million today, you know? Drive by there, and the first thing, out of all the things that went there, out of all the funny stuff that happened, the pouring the concrete in the pouring rain in the water was the one that, like, that's my first thought when I see that house,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I think that's what we will do, is that we'll be able to give people the knowledge, obviously, right? The experience and the knowledge, but then also exactly what you're talking about, those experiences to talk about. I did that. I completed that. That was me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because who doesn't love to be able to say, it was me?
Yeah, I was a part of that. Or, you know, I did that with people that, you know, just came in, like volunteered, set it up, or, you know, I took these kids, like, look at those kids, you know, look how it is. You know, I was a Little League coach when my first son was young. And, you know, we lived in Quad, but I went all the way back to Mastic Beach to teach kids, because in Quad, I'm like, these kids, you know, they got a silver spoon in their mouth, you know, they don't. So we went back to where I grew up, and, you know, you do have, there was, you know, single moms, there was problem families, stuff like that, and you got kids in. And to go there and build their self-esteem, like get kids that when you pitch, because they were so young, as the coach, I pitched to them. And, you know, you're on your knees, like telling them, like swing, trying to get them to hit it, they're ducking, they're running, you know. And then after just a few weeks, they're stepping up to the plate, spitting, looking you in the eye, holding up that bat and taking cuts at it. That was some of the coolest things. And in the beginning, it was fighting the moms. Like, it's raining out. I'm like, they're gonna end up like working for me as a framer. They gotta get used to this, you know? They were so thankful. Like, oh my God, little Johnny, you know, is like, walks around, he doesn't put his mitt down anymore. Like, they were so excited. It was so rewarding. And it was a good part of life. And some of those kids ended up coming to work for me.
Yeah.
Years later. But, hey, look, it was a good thing. I think we're pretty much out of time. How do you want
A
to,
lot.
what do you want to finish up with?
What do I want to finish up with? I don't know. Let's keep doing what we're doing. And if anybody's out there who loves what we're talking about, join us. Contact. Again, I'm Danielle Almansa. I own the Child Care Center in the Hamptons. You can contact me there, or find me on social media. And let's keep building the force, really. That's how I want to end it, is I want to get other like-minded humans in the game. Join. Don't sit back. Like, if this, I can think of myself, and I know other parents, but you have kids, and if this is what you want for them, or these are ideas, and it really, I don't know, marinates with you and resonates with you, contact us and let's keep going, because
That's great advice.
we need to build an army.
That's great advice.
Right? It's not just one person can do it all.
There's no book on raising a kid, but no parent, good or bad, wants to regret how they raised that kid. You know, so
There's no perfect.
It's important.
There's no
Exactly.
perfect. We do the best we can. Right.
All right.
So
So
thanks,
this
Frank.
is Trades Talks. Danielle, thanks for coming. This will air Tuesday morning, so this is pre-recorded. We don't do this, but this will come out Tuesday morning, and Tuesday afternoon we'll have that meeting with Stony Brook. So hopefully we'll have a nice show after that with some good news. But
We'll be
hey,
excited.
thanks for listening. Thanks for coming in,
Thanks for having me.
and we'll do this again. Take care.